Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy Lasherie, and I'm here with Elizabeth Hill, and she is going to be singing for us today, or at least playing banjo. I don't know
Right,
about the singing. Okay.
right.
And before we get started on her background and her musical journey, I do want to give a shout out to Chad Christ. He is the owner and operator of Luscious Mouse Studio in Edgewood, Washington. You can see it on the meter board as it goes through. And if you have any musical needs, do contact him. He does excellent work. He does all my production. Also, when he first got started, he was there for producing the music of drummers and leads. And now he's all over music production. And he had done that all along. But when he first got started here, when he moved up to Seattle from California, it took him a bit, but he got there and we really enjoy his production. So, with that, if you have needs, you can find him on Facebook. So, Elizabeth, how did you get started? And thank you and welcome to this show. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
on.
for having me, Joy.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. I'm looking forward to this because I don't know what you call your genre, but to me, it's a lot like bluegrass.
Yeah, it's a lot like bluegrass, and then and music before that, which is old time music. It's kind of both of those things that we do.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. So I didn't know much about that starting out. I didn't, music to me didn't hit the bluegrass scene until the 80s and 90s. I wasn't watching. I have to apologize for that. But how did you get started and what was your first instrument?
well, the first thing was at my grandmother's house. We would help her do chores, and then sometime in the afternoon, she would say, "Okay, now it's music hour." I mean, from
Oh,
the all the time I can remember since I was a little kid. I mean, I don't remember a time when we weren't doing that. And
yeah.
she had a corner cupboard, the old wooden ones that used to be in the
Yeah.
corner of her
Yeah.
house, and the bottom of it was filled with all kinds of instruments that kids would like, including one of the ones I remember were just two pieces of wood with sandpaper stapled to them,
Oh
with
my
a leather
gosh.
with a piece of leather on it that my grandfather had made, and we would,
Do
march
that.
along.
Yeah. I need to ask you where you were born, where you're from, where you grew up.
Sort of Pennsylvania Dutch country.
Okay. I've been to West Virginia. I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Very Appalachian background. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Western Pennsylvania, and then the Pennsylvania Dutch too. Very do everything for yourself, including make your own music.
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
I used to go when I was in West Virginia. I would go to all these reenactments of that
Oh,
Civil War era
yeah.
and dulcimers and
Oh, the hammer
spoons and
dulcimers. Yeah,
and I mean, amazing. And I never heard of the wood and the sandpaper. That's cool.
yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen them otherwise, but we had them. My grandfolks made them.
So you're telling me about these instruments. So what happened after that? How did this
Well,
progress?
Well, then after that, one of my neighbors gave me this zither. It's the actual zither that I've had since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And it says on here, the third man, which I think is kind of neat. But I played this so many hours, like just so many hours. And now I have another one that I'm using for puppet shows. And I just wanted to show it because see how these
Yeah.
papers
Yeah.
slide in here? Then
Yeah.
you just can kind of follow along.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so I had some papers like that, but I also just did a lot of improvising on my zither too when I was a kid.
Wow. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
And
You
then
have go ahead. Sorry.
when I was when my grandfather died, my
Sorry.
the grandparents I told you about were one side of my family, but the other side of my family, when that grandfather died, I asked my grandmother for his banjo. And she said, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" I said, "Well, I'm going to learn to play it." So she gave me this. This is his old banjo. It's from the 1920s, and it's a four-string banjo.
Wow.
So he played like Dixieland jazz on it. So very
Yes.
different style of music. But that was my very first banjo, is that one right there. Yeah.
It was hard to learn.
Yeah. Well, well, because I was really more interested in these other styles that I now know you play on a 5-string banjo. But in the beginning, I really didn't
You
know
know?
that.
Oh my gosh. That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so I would just my one of my friends from my first year of college said to me maybe about 6 months ago. She said, "I remember when you were plunking around on that when I was a freshman and we were roommates, you know." So I just tried to figure it out, and then I went to Montana for college and something for geological studies, and
Yeah.
something happened with my job at the Forest Service where it was an internship, and I assumed when I was done with school I was going to be able to go straight to Wyoming and start working in my summer job. But they said, "Oh no, we're the federal government and you can only start the first of the month." Well, that meant that I had like 3.5 weeks of like no job and no money.
Ugh.
So
I understand no money.
yeah, so I had no money. So I went and I stayed. I was living in Butte, Montana at the time, and I went and I stayed at Homestake Pass. I camped out there. And one of my friends who played a 5-string banjo would come out and visit me. And he and I would fish for trout so that I would have something to eat. And
Those out there are incredible. You had good food anyway.
we had good food. And then he taught me how to play the 5-string banjo, but I only had 4 strings. And I said, "That's okay. I'll just play the bottom 4."
So you ever able to teach you banjo or?
Yeah, well, I did learn a lot from him, you know, and that was in like the very late 70s. And so I just kind of plunked around doing my own stuff on it and learning, you know, fingering techniques, I guess you'd say, and the rolls and
Right.
stuff like that. And then about maybe 20 years ago, or a little more than that, coming up on 25 years ago, I got an actual 5-string banjo. And
Was that a whole new learning process or?
yeah. And I heard somebody playing. At that time, I was in Southern Ohio, which is just across the river from Kentucky. And I heard somebody playing in the laundromat, but I really liked his sound. So I asked him, you know, "Will you teach me how to play this?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll teach you." And he plays clawhammer style. So he said,
Oh,
"That's what I'll teach you. And you'll pay me either $20 an hour or $20 a song, whatever happens first."
that was so much, but it was at that time probably was a lot.
Yeah, it kind of was, especially the first couple songs, because I had to took me a long time to learn one song in the beginning, you know.
During any of this time, did you perform out in the public?
Well, I joined a community band in Yellow Springs, which is an art community there. But we had like about 20 people. It was called the Yellow Springs Mostly Strings Band. And so there were a lot of experienced musicians who just helped me along, you know, who basically helped me not mess up what they were doing. I mean, to be really honest. And they've taught me, you know, make sure you're in the right key and make sure you're not, you know, playing too loud. If you're not quite sure, play a little more quiet. And if you are sure, play louder. Just
Right.
all things, little tips like that, you know?
Right. So at that time, were you write? Do you write music? I'm assuming you do.
I do, but I don't, to the frustration of my bandmates, I don't write it down. You know, it just kind of comes to me and then I just play it. And so actually writing it down is something I'm just starting to work on, you know, because what I
Right.
do is I just put it in the voice memos on my, it usually is when I'm driving, I'll think
It's a
of
voice
one.
memo.
Oh, on my phone, you can just hit an app and it lets you record yourself.
Ah.
So I'll like sing the song idea into that, maybe the melody or the lyrics, or usually both, and then I will share it with people, but if someone just if someone's trying to figure out the chords, that's something I'm not very good at by myself. I almost need help to,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I'm getting it, but that's something I'm working on. Mhm.
I understand.
Where I know some other people, they write a chord progression
Right.
first
Right.
and then they write the lyrics
Right.
second.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. But more often, I do. I write it down, and my producer corrects it. He doesn't correct a lot, but every now and then he does show me. Um, like I'll get the bridges. I don't know if you use bridges when you're playing the banjo and that kind of music, but a bridge is something that's a little different, ties things together, and I still stumble a little bit with that. So he corrects it.
Well, that's really nice to have help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I most of the time, if I have a song, I have the music in my head, but not always. And sometimes I have to collaborate. It's whatever. So I get it.
Well, collaboration is so helpful,
Yeah, definitely. I used to go to these in-home I don't know, rounds where people just sit around and jam. One person, they all,
take
and
turns
yeah, and
going.
I've seen women, one or two, and I don't know if it was you or not, but struggle in it, to play the banjo. But um, looking at it, it's like I don't think this is an easy instrument. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that the way I came to it, it wasn't really easy because I didn't, really. I hear a lot of people talking about they start with the piano and then they go to chords on a guitar and then
Right?
you
It's
know,
hard.
I didn't do it any logical way like that. I just tried to get an instrument in my hands and start playing it,
Yeah, but
so
that way you another aspect of all of that is your ear. And
right. I
yeah,
do it by ear mostly, yeah,
yes,
and
and you must have an extremely good ear to know, hear something or see something in your mind to be able to pick it out on your banjo. I mean,
yeah.
that's not
Well,
an
I
easy
would say
task.
all those years of not having any training and just listening to the instrument probably did help me a lot with
Right.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whoa. So when was your first time out and doing a gig?
Well, the first,
Well, we left the story. We left our story.
yes,
Hold on.
that
We
band,
left the story with this man charging you $20
yeah,
to.
your song. And then the other thing I did is I took a class in bluegrass performance, and it was at a community college, and it was in Southern Ohio. And I went there thinking that it was going to be, I don't know, we'd have notebooks or paper or something, but it wasn't. I just opened the door and went in the class, and it was a bunch of people jamming. And they said, "Oh, our next performance is like in 3 weeks or something." And I thought, "What? Aren't we going to learn how to perform?" And they said, "Well, how you learn how to perform is you perform." That's like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So they had various performances that we did around the campus there and maybe at some small community festivals. And they just really gave us a lot of advice, like how to have the better people, the more experienced people in the front in kind of a U shape. And then the rest of us kind of stacked behind. And if we
Right.
don't know what to do, just kind of smile and try to stay in the key, don't do anything too wild. Don't go
Uh,
up front and start playing if you don't know what
Trial by
you're doing.
fire.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was a good lesson. Those were good lessons for me because it really got into you don't have to wait until you're perfect.
right.
Start performing because I think some people get stuck in that, right?
Well,
But I've seen you perform, and you're such a good performer.
Thank you. I wouldn't say that. I mean, most of the time I'm like, I hit a bad chord. I mean, the worst critic is yourself, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
stuck in that because I'm a perfectionist at heart, and I have to learn not to do that every time I perform.
Yeah, well, your performances are so high energy and fun that
Thank
I
you.
just don't think anybody's being critical. At least I'm like rocking when you're doing your
Oh, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna see you in person. I'm gonna have you post if you could and would um, anything that you have upcoming. And I noticed there was something on there today, and I I didn't. I think I didn't post it, but I saw it was there, and I think it would be really interesting to go. I got turned on to bluegrass, like I said, in '80s and '90s, and going to West Virginia and listening to their unique, totally unique homemade music really got me inspired. So, and I haven't really seen anything like you're doing around here because it's just not in my face. It's not accessible when I'm available. So,
A
I
lot
hope
of
that's
times
the point.
people will come up to us after a show and say how much they appreciated
Yeah,
hearing this old music and they like it so much. We also do some modern bluegrass stuff like Billy Strings, who's so famous right now.
yes,
we
yes.
we do a cover of his music, but people will often say, oh, I haven't heard that music since I was a kid and they'll say Georgia, North Carolina,
Right, right.
West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, that kind of thing.
I think I want to make a come here because when I first started, I had to sit in a jam and then try to figure out, how everything was going. And I knew three chords. Maybe well, I knew more than that, but I was proficient, let's say, in three chords. And I got involved in preserving in this group. I can't remember what it's called anymore, but they were trying to preserve the older music, the older country music.
I could see that.
And that is, the older I get, the more I realize that the music that I played 80s, 90s, early 2000 in country is disappearing. I mean, now it's classic. It's on the radio station 101.5 or some silly thing. And it's out there, but the traditional stuff, they bring that into it every once in a while, but it all disappears. And what we once called uh, classical music was the stuff they now call traditional or country western. And so it just keeps marching forward. And if you don't preserve it,
Right.
it's gone. It's just gone. So I respect what you're doing. I think that's great. And the amazing thing is that people still like it.
They still like it. It's people say it makes them happy.
Yes.
So that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, well, thinking of the background where it came from, it would seem to me that that must have been a very happy time in your childhood when you got to do instruments.
That's true.
And when you got,
It was like, okay, the chores are done. Now we get to have
yes,
fun.
and I think that probably carries into the music in
Probably does,
all
yeah.
of that bluegrass stuff. It's kind of uplifting and
Yeah.
fun. I'll bet you were enjoying it. I mean, that's an amazing thing that you had in your childhood that is not being replicated in every single home. So you've got that special thing.
Yeah, I guess that part of my life has been really lucky.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So
So I
going,
try to do that with my granddaughter when she
oh
visits,
yeah,
Yeah.
and my kids are not, no, I have no interest. But yeah. So the last thing we were talking about is your experience at the college.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
where did it go from there?
Well, then I just, I moved back out here and I moved into this little cabin where I live. It's only 420 square feet, this
Wow.
cabin. So I was just playing here all the time. By now I know quite a few of these old traditional songs, and I was just pretty happy playing here. And then some young people started coming here because I live at a lake, and they came to swim and things like that. So they were musicians, so we started playing together, and they really liked the music. And so then one of the guitarists, his name is Britton Bangs, he had sort of a standing gig at Soul Food Coffee House in Redmond. So
Oh,
he
that's
said
where
to
I
me,
live. Yeah,
"Oh
I've never
yeah,"
been there. I'm gonna have to get over there.
he said to me, "Well, I got this gig, and it's called Britton Bangs and Friends. So why don't you come and play with me there sometime?" I said, "Okay." So we did that, and that was kind of the very beginning of it. And then we played at the Grange in Duval, the open mic there a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
Miller's Incarnation a few times, that sort of thing.
yeah.
And then a friend of mine, well, someone that I met, um, his name's Axton. He asked me, "Hey, do you want to play at Redmond Pride?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, just like myself." And he said, "No, whatever you want, by yourself, or if you want to have a band, whatever you want to do." So I said, "Okay, well, I'll put together a band and we'll do it." So that was my very first gig.
And how
Like
long ago was that?
three, it's not like 2 years and some change. It's almost,
Amazing. All
yeah,
right.
it'll be 3 years in September. Yeah. So that's kind of was my very first time, like Elizabeth Hill and the Valley Folk was like coming up on 3 years ago now.
And
And we,
that's the name of your band?
yeah,
Okay, I think I put it in there as the Valley, something Valley.
Valley Folk. It's Valley
Yeah,
Folk.
Valley Folk. And I
Yeah.
forgot the Elizabeth Hill. I didn't realize that
Oh,
was part of the story.
that's all right. It's no
Yes,
problem. It's no
we did.
problem.
We did have a listener come in here. It's Jennifer Van Dole, maybe Doele.
Okay.
Hi, hi there. I'm glad to see you in our chat. Do you have any questions for Elizabeth? So, um, how was that received? I mean, were there a lot of people there? I mean, I live in Redmond, never went to one of those. So
Yeah, there were a lot of people. Redmond has that beautiful stage that was designed by a sculptor, and it's in
where was
Redmond.
it?
It's in Redmond Park, and it looks like a spaceship, sort of. It's all
Oh,
mirrored and reflective, and um, it's just one of the most beautiful stages I've ever seen.
is that the one downtown?
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
it's
Yes, it
really
is.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really nice. And for that to be like the stage we had our first show on, that was pretty fun. And then after that, we just got to play at so many like town festivals along the valley here, like in
right,
Duval,
right.
Carnation. We like to play Arbor Day um, gigs because they seem, everything about the wood, the trees and the
Right,
woods, and how the instruments are made. That's sort
right.
of really
Yeah,
interesting.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
I'm a tree lover. In my other life, I'm sure I would have chained myself to trees. Now I know better not to do that. But every time I see around the Washington, no matter where we are, where they've got just everything is cut down, and it's just like, oh Lord, do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
That's what happened to my state. They cut out all, it was lumbered, and eventually all we got left was a little bit bunch of scrawny trees called jack pines and Norway and balsam, but everything else is gone. And I'm gonna have to do a lot of cutting to do that here. But nevertheless, it bothers me to see that happen. So going on from there, you're going to play a few tunes for us, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So is there anything else? Wow, that was quite a journey. It was a long period of time from Montana, from Pennsylvania to Montana to today. Wow.
Well, it's our
The only question I have,
that's our
when did you
age.
move to
There's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, and I'm sure we didn't hit all the high points. We just kind of there's not enough time sometimes for us to get. It might be a 2 or 3 hour show. But moving on to when did you move to Seattle? When
I
did you?
first moved to Vancouver, British Columbia for my
Oh,
master's degree, and then just came down here to work right after.
you're a minister.
No, no, I came down here to work.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I was working in geosciences and engineering then, environmental type stuff.
yeah. So you
From
really are a arbor person.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was I guess that was 37 years ago. Yeah. Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it
maybe
took this long.
38. Yeah.
Took this long to get. Wow.
Yeah.
So you worked full time, right? You
Oh,
were.
yeah, very much so, except for 2.5 years that I was in Southern Ohio because we went there to be near my daughter's grandmother, not my mom, but my,
Right.
then husband's mom. And when I was in Southern Ohio, I was like, well, what am I going to do here? So then I thought, oh, I know what I could do. That's when I got those music lessons and those old
Yeah.
songs. Yeah.
All
Mhm.
right. Well, good
Yeah.
for you.
So I did that and I learned pottery. Those, because that's like American pottery is very much centered around Southern Ohio.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole area. I get that. Been
Yeah.
there, kind of. I mean, here's
Yeah.
the neighbor next door, and it's kind of hard to be. There's nothing else going on in West Virginia at the time, because of the mining and so forth. So,
Right. Exactly.
so there's a lot of entertainment and lovely, informative gossip.
Well, that's certainly true. But it's called storytelling
Oh,
there.
yes, I'm sorry. The gossip has a negative connotation, and that was not what it was at all. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, let's hear that banjo. I'm anxious. Can't
okay,
wait.
okay, okay.
Now, I'm
Well,
not going to be back, so if anything happens, just keep playing and talking until I get back, okay? I gotta grab
okay,
water.
that sounds like a plan.
All right.
Oh boy. Of course, banjos, they always need tuned.
I know this is called tuning. Great song.
Well, I'll try to be quick about it.
No problem. You go ahead and take your time. You have plenty of time.
Okay. This is A tuning, and then with this banjo, I change the tuning for different songs. So since we've been talking so much about these old songs, maybe I'll just play a real simple Cripple Creek song here to start with. That's Cripple Creek. And
Yay!
one thing I like about
Got me dancing here.
oh, good. One of the things I like about these old songs is, you can hear them referenced in more modern songs. Like,
Right.
I really like that.
I get it.
So
Okay.
that's been
Right
fun.
about let you continue. We got to maybe two or three. They're short, so you can spend a few minutes on these.
Yeah, yeah. That thing is with these, I can play them for a long time or a short time, but I thought, well, just get a feeling of the song,
Okay.
that'd be good. But
Shoot for that.
I wanted to show you something that this style that I play, which is like more, you play it way up here, and you see on the neck how they cut this little part of the neck out right there.
Yeah,
It's a
I do.
scoop. It's a little scoop so that when you hit it, it's called hammering. You can get a nice loud sound out of it. Whereas if you have a regular banjo, that doesn't have that. Well, just imagine if you're playing it here. That's all the sound you can get out of it because there's no space for the string to move down towards the neck. So this is a special kind of banjo neck for this type of playing that I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I learn something new all the time.
Yeah,
So,
and they have an open back, so that's like a mountain style banjo. So it doesn't. It was before the radio. When they started playing radio shows more. Whoops. I got all kinds of banjos here. When they started playing the radio shows, then they had banjos like this. It has an open back, but then they put this thing on the back called a resonator. And so it takes the sound and pushes it out, towards the audience. See, it's much louder.
yeah. I was going to ask you is if banjos are electrified.
Well, what I do, and that's such a great question because this one, it doesn't have the scoop out, you see? So
Yeah.
the challenge with it is even though it sends the sound out to the audience, it's not great for me to play that claw hammer style because there's not enough space. And so what I do is what I used to do is clip a little microphone inside here on this metal bar.
Yeah.
And then plug it in. And that works pretty well. But more recently, we're working with one of those trumpet style, like it looks like a radio show type microphone, and everybody takes turns going up to it, and you're moving around a lot, depending on who's doing a solo or break, a feature, I would call it. But the challenge with that is that if you have that wire in your banjo and you're trying to, sort of dance around on the like not really dance, but move from one part of the stage to the other, you'll get all tangled up. So this is actually something I'm struggling through right now is how to amp my claw hammer style and still be able to use that ear trumpet microphone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's and that's a whole new problem because obviously in the past they didn't have that worry. They didn't have that amplification, right?
No, and if you're so a lot of it was straight up acoustic even, not anything. So it seems I like to think about how technology influences, how we play the music to we want to go retro, but then
right.
At least people like me, I want to have the best of both worlds. I want to.
Why not? It's there. You just have to know how to use it, right?
So that's what I'm currently, and I'm so lucky. The people that I play with right now, one of them, his name's Cole Holman, and he knows a lot about. He's a young person. I think he's about 24. Great guitarist, great flat picker, and he knows a lot about using these microphones that they use for bluegrass. So it's really helping me. It's almost like if this is the ball that's that microphone, then you imagine a bigger ball around it, and you want to stay like on the outer rim of that bigger ball. That's where the sweet spot is. So on a regular microphone, you're going up close.
Right.
It doesn't work like that, but Yeah, it's very different. And so that's something we're working on. It's a little bit geeky, but that's
Well, geeky or not, if it works, it works. And
yeah,
what a challenge.
yeah.
So I'm going to bow out again and let you go
Okay.
on with your,
All
and
right.
thank you for telling me that. It's very interesting, very different.
Okay. All right. I think I'll play Waterbound, which is another tune in A, an old tune. Actually, this is Sail Away Ladies, but that's okay. That's Sail Away Ladies.
All right. Wow. You know what I couldn't see was the I don't know, the lower
Oh,
part.
the ball?
Oh yes, yeah. So are you actually finger picking that?
No, I'll show
Or,
you. I'll show you. Let's see if maybe I'll stand up.
all right.
I got so many different banjos around me here. I actually have one in Pennsylvania. I keep there for so when I go there I can play. I go there to my brother's farm. He still lives there. Let's see here. So could you see kind of where I'm playing it up here?
Yes. Yeah, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this lady must have calluses to die for.
What's that?
You must have calluses on those fingers to die for.
Well, I'll show you what I've got. I got a long fingernail. That's my pick.
Yeah, it's your pick.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
You never lose that one.
When I do, and of course, sometimes it happens when I'm gardening right before a show, and I'll be like, ah.
I have a lead, and he has something that he puts on there. I'm not sure what it is, but he glues it or something so that, and he has certain fingers that he has these long nails that helps him pick. So
I've done some things in a pinch, I put some
yeah,
fingernail polish on there to try to
yeah,
harden the
yeah.
skin underneath. than broken nail, things like that.
What I do, don't tell anybody, and don't do this at home. I put super glue in if my calluses wear off or whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
I put super glue on. I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna have people stuck to their instruments. But I put
Exactly.
I put the super glue on there and don't touch anything until it's dry. And eventually it peels off. I mean, it goes away by itself. But it sure helps if something like that happens and I don't have a callus because it came off. Lovely. I great music. And you know what I was thinking? I saw your little cabin in the back.
Yeah.
Central refrigerator, your window back there. It is very small space and
Yeah.
very interesting. I love cabins. I come from northern Minnesota where we lived in cabins until my dad got our house built, and it took a long time because he also worked full time, so it was piecemeal. And eventually, he got the house built, and we had a motel. We had motel rooms and so forth. So, and a very lonely highway up north, but it was fun while it lasted. And cabins were a big thing up there. And so very nostalgic when I see your cabin. And then I listen to that music and I think, those lonely winters and Minnesota winters at the time were pretty nasty, especially up north where we lived. And there's nothing else to do. You've got a fire in the fireplace. There's always fire going somewhere. And that wood, even though it's cut wood and it's dead, it still to me smells. I can smell it. I don't care what you say. That pine house smells, or wood house smells, and that sitting there with the snow piling up outside and plunking on something like that, just to me has to be another kind of heaven.
It is a heaven. It really is. Yeah.
And it's the innocence of the music. I mean, I don't know. It's a lonely sound, but a happy sound. And when you were playing it, you're smiling. I know you're enjoying it. I know you like it.
I do. Sometimes my daughter will say, "What are you playing?" And I'll say, "What I want to listen to."
Oh, that's cute. So how do you, like on a guitar, I play chords. We're the players, so I play chords.
Hmm.
And I don't do a lot of finger picking like I always feel like you do, but
Right.
I let the lead do that. And what what is the technique on a banjo that how do you know the strings and you know the positions and you said you tuned it to A, so
Well,
there's a
I put it.
story here I don't understand.
Yeah, yeah. You put it in a tuning. Like in this case, it's the key of A, and all that means is that there's a progression of strings that have certain that are going to be in certain notes. And so, one of the things that makes a five-string banjo really different from other stringed instruments, I'm reaching up to my tuner, but I already know this, is the top string is a very high sound. So, normally you would expect to hear something like this. But on a banjo, the five-string banjo anyway, the top string's really a high sound. And that's because this top string is your drone. So at least for clawhammer, what you're doing is kind of measuring a distance with your thumbs always riding on the drone. And then if you want to be down at this high string that's not your drone, you're going to be that far away. And then if you want to be at your low string, you'll be only this far away. So you kind of learn the position of the four other strings like that. And then you just learn where to, put your other fingers. That's
Wow.
kind of how it works. Yeah.
That to me it looks like a real challenge. I don't know. I'm not that wise. That just seems to me to be a real challenge, and I think you've done it really well. So you must be very proud of yourself for that.
Well, I feel like I've gone about it sort of on a slow path, but I do feel like I know how to play the banjo. I do know that. And now, like, we're playing with other people and learning how to communicate to them and them to me, more like understanding the underlying music theory and stuff is an area I'm growing in. But,
And
I didn't start there, so I'm kind of learning it at the end instead of the beginning.
no problem. Slow or fast or whatever. It's just life's a learning process anyway.
I mean, that's what makes music fun, I think. It's
That's
like
right.
being inside a huge universe.
Yes,
There's so
absolutely.
much
To
to.
learn.
Hmm.
Yes. So tell me about your band.
Okay, I'd love to do
Elizabeth
that.
Hill, Elizabeth
Yeah,
Hill,
and the Valley Folk.
Valley Folk.
Yeah, and we have Cole Holman, who I told you about, who's really a good flat picker. He's just wonderful. And then we have
So he
Wayne.
plays like lead or what?
Well, he plays guitar and he can really do just about anything. In fact, we had a gig last night and I asked if the audience had any questions. It was towards the end of our 2-hour gig. And they said, yeah, can you guys play Led Zeppelin? And Cole stood up to the
Did
mic
you?
and blasted it out there. And I went,
Yes.
wow.
Love it. Yes.
It was one of the fun moments, but he can play great solos. He can do chording. He sings really, really well. And he's a great team player, and
Right.
helps the other people and he's really concerned about how we all sound together, which all the people in the band are that way. And that makes all the difference, doesn't it? Yeah.
And you have a stand-up bass?
Yeah, we have a stand-up bass, and Wayne Pear plays that, and he plays in another band too called Calliope Claims the Heart, and I think you've interviewed
Yes.
2 of those other band members.
Yes, I have. I remember them.
Yeah, Stacy Powell.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and I think Todd. So yeah, I'm very lucky. He asked if he could join our band, and he knows music theory. He plays piano. He's doing a great job on stand-up bass. He writes some of his own songs that we play now, which are really fun.
All right, I got a question.
Okay.
How the heck do you mic that stand-up bass?
Well,
you can't get it up to the microphone.
Right. At first, we were telling him carry it up like to this round. I call it the radio mic, but I think they call it a condensed mic. But anyway, it's made by Ear Trumpet. And he said after one show, he said, I can't do this. It's too heavy carrying this thing up, backing up, carrying it up. And then he was trying to move his music stand, and he said, no, I'm not doing this. So he has a way he mics his own, and then he goes out through his own amplifier.
Oh, okay.
That's what
All
we
right.
do. Yeah. But I've seen other people put a sort of a bigger mic and then wrap it up with cloth to make it a little quieter, and they call it a stuff mic, and they stuff it into their stand-up bass, and they mic it that way. So it's different things I've seen people do, but you're right. You can't move the thing around like you can with a banjo or our mandolin player. He's a multi-instrumentalist. His name is Carson Cox, and he writes his own music, and he plays mandolin, he plays banjo, guitar, and now he's playing the Irish whistle that he just got in Ireland. So I'm just so lucky to have such great musicians to play with. It's so fun.
Yeah. Are you guys recording any of this yet?
Well, I mean, not in any formal way, and so we have that's something that we want to do and need to work on.
Right.
We have recordings that people make with their phones, or I have a Q2N that's supposed to be designed to capture video and sound, but really these phones work almost as well. So I think now we're ready to take that next step and get some help, in a studio, I think. Yeah.
Right. So there's 4 of you, or you've got a man? Yeah.
We
Okay.
got me on banjo, and then the stand-up bass, which is Wayne Pear. Guitar, our primary guitarist is Cole Homan, and then Carson Cox mostly plays mandolin, but he can play all those other instruments I mentioned. Yeah.
Great. So, how do you make a set list? I mean, how do you is it created on the spot or do you have
No,
songs that play?
I have a master list of all the songs that we know, and then I also have a list of like a wish list of songs we want to know,
Yeah,
that we want to learn.
right.
And then if everyone can get to a gig, then I really have to pick, sort of, it's more like which ones are our favorites and
Right,
how long is the gig. And,
right.
and then my tuning between different keys drives everybody crazy. So we'll try to group things so I don't have to retune as often because nobody likes it, especially not me. And so so that influences, and then we try to think about, fast and slow and ending on something strong. And what else do we think about? Oh, vocal versus and instrumentation, kind of breaking it up
Right,
that
right,
way.
exactly.
That's
Mhm.
what we do.
So,
Yeah.
what have you got coming up?
Okay, coming up, we're going to play the Sandblast Festival for the Arts, and that's going to be on,
Where is that?
that's in Duval, and
Okay.
that is going to be on the 19th of July. And we're probably going to go to Joni's.
Ah,
Maybe
so you're
dinner for
there. You got we got you got to
fun
introduce yourself.
on July 5th. That'll be really
Yeah, I'll
fun.
be
Plus,
playing.
you'll get to hear us
Yeah,
there.
and I'll
And
get to you get I'll be playing there with Terry. Oh gosh, I can't think of his last name. Something.
oh, well, this will be fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
we
it's
can jam a
great.
little bit. That would
What
be
time are
really.
you going on?
Oh, gee, what did they tell me? I think they said 3 o'clock, but I'm not a
Yeah,
hundred.
you're after me.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
great.
Yes.
This is going to be so fun.
Yes. Yeah, this is a private party that we're talking about. Joni Haller, she runs a little shop in Duval. Like, do you know the name of
Country
the shop?
collections.
Yeah, and she has 3 times a summer in a year in the summer. She has concerts. Has beautiful stage and great beautiful property. It's on a kind of a farm. I wouldn't call it a farm because I call it a hobby farm. And it's a great place to go. Very fun. A lot of musicians, a lot of area along the whole Duval, Monroe,
Seems
etc.
like
area,
it's
Redmond.
the Snoqualmie Valley and then the
Yeah,
Skykomish
yeah,
Valley.
you got it. And and so that's what we're talking about. And it's a day full of musicians and good food and jamming with each other. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to do that.
Oh, that would be nice.
And what else do you have besides that? Anything else
Well,
coming
we
up?
have a couple of private parties, and then we also have, we're going to play in Duval in August on the 9th. They have their 25th anniversary of their summer stage music program.
Great.
And so we're going to get to play there just for a half an hour, but starting at 2 o'clock. And the really neat thing is the headliner is Austin Jenks. So that's a pretty big deal.
Who?
His name is Austin Jenkins. He's a country singer, and he grew up here in the valley, and he's a good songwriter. I think he's done really well with songwriting, but he's also he's lives in Nashville now, and when he comes back, he has a
Okay.
lot of shows here. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'll send you some of his music. He's pretty amazing.
thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
And do you have a website or anything that people can find you? How will we find
Yeah,
you?
we do. It's Elizabeth Hill and the Valley Folk. And we
I
also,
saw it. That's
yeah,
right. I saw it
yeah,
because I got some stuff over there. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. And we're also on Facebook and Facebook. We're on Facebook, but we have our website. And I think I sent you, in fact, I know I did, our electronic press kit. Yeah. Which,
Yes, and I don't know if I put it out there. I think I did
yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and and I loved that picture of the train. I thought it was a bus, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking Nashville buses, and it's actually a train. God.
It was a train car because we were playing at the Black Dog in Snoqualmie, and we thought, look at those trains. Wouldn't it be great if we just ran across the street and got some pictures real quick? Yeah.
Oh, that is. I took pictures the same. I have my website too.
Oh,
But yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah.
a great place to go. I love trains.
Well,
We
I
used to have
saw
one in
you had, I
Vancouver.
looked at your website and I saw you had a picture of a similar shiny silver train car.
Yep, that's it. That was me. Uh, and so thinking about the future, one thing you did tell me that you'd like to get this music recorded for one
Mhm.
thing, at least some of it,
Yeah.
written down, which is
Yeah.
also important, so
Yeah.
that you got something people can go to eventually, hopefully,
Yeah.
someplace where it'll be seen. Well, what else what is, if you, if God gives us a lot longer life and gives us as many years as we can use, what would you be, what would you be doing in 1 year and through 5 year plan? Where do you see this all going? You haven't been doing it that long, so you got a lot more to do.
Yeah. I guess we have a lot more to do. Well, one of our highlights is we got to play Folk Life last year, and I would like to do that again. That was super fun. We didn't get selected this year, but that would be something I'd like really to
What
enjoy.
is that again?
Oh, we got in Folk Life last year. Folk
Where is
Life
it?
in
What is that?
Seattle. It's a big celebration. Oh, I see. Of different kinds of folk music. All sorts of internationally um, recognized musical art forms, and
Wow.
and one of the ones that they focus on is bluegrass, but it's just one of what they do. But it's been doing bluegrass for so long, and it's down at the Seattle Center, so
Oh,
it just kind of has a special place in my heart. I've been going there for 30 years or so,
I,
and I think just playing more gigs and getting our music out there and having fun, that's really important
yes,
to me.
that's the whole point, right?
It's kind of the whole point, and continuing to learn and play and hopefully bring some joy to people's lives. I mean, it makes me really happy when people tell me, "Oh, I really love that music. I'm so glad to hear it again," and or I know that music. I grew up with it, or gee, that felt like a musical hug. Things like that. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. I love it. We only have like 2 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
I believe that it went that fast.
I
It
can't
was
either.
wow. But what would you, of all the things that you've learned from the time you went into your grandmother's cupboard and
Yeah.
then your hour of fun music, what advice would you give to young people or older people or anybody out there who want to do music or are doing music based on what you've learned through the years?
Well, I would say two things. One would be, don't try not to worry about perfection. It really doesn't matter.
Point taken.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I make so many mistakes, and I just keep doing it because there's only so much time that we're here for, and so if I wait till I'm perfect, I'm probably not going to get anything
I
done.
don't have enough time for that.
I don't think I have time for that. And then secondly, like a big part of this music, the way I learned it, um, is to sit somewhere and look at nature and what's going on, like whether it's a duck floating around and then, you're playing ducks on a mill pond and trying to make that sonic painting. I think trying to be, of course, this kind of music lends itself to that so well, but any kind of music. I mean, I noticed in your lyrics, they're very filmic, it brings people in. And so I would say to try to bring that, you know, the mind's eye into the music is maybe
Absolutely.
something that I would suggest.
Yes.
Mhm.
And again, the reminder about bluegrass being instruments that were homemade, songs that were people written, and festive times. In fact, even in my family, we get together on a holiday and we'd all get together, and my aunt would play the piano and we'd sing and whatever. But
Oh,
it
how
was music.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's music based, and that that really is bluegrass is really rich in that. And the other element that you're bringing up, I agree totally. That is nature. We're using instruments that are made from nature, right?
Right, 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 right,
And so, yes, in closing, I truly enjoyed learning the things that I learned about your banjo playing and your band. I
right.
hope you will come back with your band at some point in the future.
That would be very fun, Joy.
And
Yeah.
great, and I will be looking forward to your music. Do post some mature musicians so people know where you're at. And,
Okay. All
and
right.
a lot of people today are out enjoying the day, I'm sure, are working. And so many of us have to work. I don't have to work anymore. My poor husband does. But it's been a real joy, and I'm sure they'll be tuning in and learning just like I did. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank
And
you
I
for
wish
the
you nothing but
opportunity.
good luck. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
I'll see you on the 5th. We're not goodbye until later.
Next time.
All right. Bye bye. So that's it. I have another guest coming. I'm not entirely sure who it is. Could be Deacon. It's interesting. A man who does a lot of improv music. Great stuff. Anyway, thank you for tuning in today. I'll see you down the road. Be sure to have fun. Music reminds me every day how much fun we have with our instruments. Take care. Have a good day the rest of you and the rest of the week. See if I can get out of here. There we go. Bye.